So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about two fundamental strategies of creating wealth. And there are probably only two. So I'm going to talk about these two strategies here, and at a fundamental level, there are only two strategies. Okay. Strategy number one is sales, right? The whole reason why we get into business is in creating a product or a service, finding a market, starting a company, building a team, to work on something is fundamentally to produce a sale. When you produce a sale, money hits your bank and that is recorded as a sale, right? And it's also known as revenue. So sales and revenue are the same thing. So you make a sale and that's revenue. It's also known as top line. Okay, that's a technical term. They say top line is because it's at the top. If you look at an income statement, that's the top line. And if you pay expenses, what you have is profit. All right, so how do you make a lot of profit? You got to make a lot of sales. How do you make a lot of sales? You can do one-on-one or you could do one-to-many. Okay, so one-to-many sales is basically marketing, is when you use the power of media to propagate your message to a large group of people in a market, in a community, and you get a lot of sales together at one time. And then your employees work to develop products and services to deliver that. That's at a fundamental level what a business is. So how do you get the money in the door? Through sales. Okay, that's one strategy. Most businesses, most entrepreneurs get into it and they realize they have to get good at sales and marketing. And that's the game of creating revenue from scratch. You've got nothing in the company and you start door to door, you bring in a little bit money, and then from that you do marketing. So I started off door to door sales. I became a yoga teacher and I was a really good yoga teacher. I got trained for 1750 hours and I came back after, couple of years of practice and one full year of training, and I came with this yoga teacher training as a badge of honor, right? And I went into my hometown and I thought people would be celebrating that I have arrived, from the yogi has arrived, and people would be lining up to do a program with me because I was trained in one of the most reputed institutions. But when I came back, I realized nobody knew I even went there. For them, it was just the same Prithvi. They didn't even know. And obviously, I'm not going to walk around with my yoga certificate. So the only way for me to get in front of people was to do door-to-door sales, because I didn't have any money for marketing. So I started off door-to-door sales and I got exhausted because I could only get to 150 houses. I would knock on every house. I had little pamphlets. I would give the pamphlet and I would try to make a sale. So after this whole circus of everyday meeting, I put some money into the marketing, also some startup capital that I took it from my mother. And when the program happened, I had spent 1 month doing door-to-door sales and making a lot of phone calls, spent a bunch of money, and at the end of the month, I just broke even. So whatever money I had put in, that money just came back, and in fact a little bit less. So I was like, I could go crazy doing this thing. This is extremely difficult. I don't want to be in business almost. This is horrible. I just don't want to be doing this. So I was really questioning the meaning of life, carrying all the carpets on my shoulders, trying to set up this yoga class. And I was like, I felt like I was passionate about this thing. This yoga transformed my life, but this business sucked. It was horrible. And then I started a Facebook campaign and that did not work out, or even if it did work out, I didn't, made only a few sales. So I realized that sales and marketing will get me only so far. And my goal was to make hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars. And I just could not understand how I would do that. I could keep repeating this process and keep re-injecting the capital, but it seemed like a never-ending process. And that's what most businesses are. Some businesses are formed and it takes a few years for them to actually make a significant amount of money. Whatever they make, they have to re-inject into sales and marketing, sales and marketing, sales and marketing. And it's a vicious cycle which doesn't end. I mean, it can pay your bills. You can even create a decent lifestyle starting a business this way. But about creating wealth, I mean, true wealth that lasts generations, there has to be a different way. Or you have to be a marketing genius. Okay, then it's possible. And there are many people who have done it in marketing. I don't want to take away from that. And it works. Definitely it works. If you know how to do marketing, your business can just explode. But there are only a few people who know how to do that, and they are celebrities. Okay, they have made a lot of money. The other strategy, if you're not a marketing genius, is a different growth strategy, which is buying revenue. So which is a more simple form of growth, because it doesn't need you to be a genius. All you got to do is find businesses that have already been built and just buy them. And in that case, you're just acquiring businesses. So for example, I'll give you an example, actually a very dramatic example. There was one guy in my hardcore seminar, the QLA hardcore seminar that I did with Dan Pena, and this man completed a $25 million acquisition, and he did it, I think, in 12 to 18 months. It took him 12 to 18 months to acquire a $25 million company, identifying it, negotiating it, going through the due diligence, finding a financier and acquiring the company. And he did not put in almost no money into the deal. So it took him 12 to 18 months to buy the company, and he was the owner of this company, $25 million. But the former owner of the company, how long did he take to build that company? Probably a few decades to create this company. And this guy just came in and he acquired it in 12 to 18 months. So if you look at his income statement, you would see over 12 to 18 months, boom, $25 million. Or if once he has acquired the company, in a year's time, you would see $25 million in revenues. And that was created in 12 to 18 months. How many of such deals can he do over the next 5 years? And once you acquire one company, you can acquire subsequent companies much faster because you have banking relationships. If he acquires 5 to 10 companies of this size in the next 5 years, 1 to 2 acquisitions in the next 5 years, he would have made $250 million. And he would have created a company with revenues of $250 million. How many sales did he make to make this $250 million? He made 5 to 10 sales to 5 to 10 different owners. So if you look at the time aspect of it, you're not selling that many people. You're selling only a few people who are the decision makers of these big companies. And the moment I realized this, how many sales do you have to make to get to 250 million if you have $1,000 product? You need a lot of sales if you have $1,000 product to get to 250 million. Celebrities who control massive audiences of millions and millions and millions of people are capable of those kinds of numbers. And that's why you see, Weeknd, DJ Khaled, Kylie Jenner, people who have massive audience, they can leverage media and make those kinds of sales. And they can sell a small product to a large numbers of people over a time, and they can make a lot of money. So that's why there is a commonly held belief that if you want to be rich, you gotta be famous. It's partly true, but that's not necessarily the case. That's true when you have sales and marketing as your strategy for growth. But if you have acquisitions as a strategy, you're just acquiring businesses that other people created over a lifetime, and you're just buying those businesses and adding all of that to the top line revenue. And this is how the growth looks like in an acquisition model. You acquire a $5 million company, then you acquired a $10 million company. Let's say you did this in 15 to 24 months. In 15 to 24 months, you have created $15 million. Then you acquired another $15 million company. That's $30 million. You acquired another $15 million company. That's $45 million. So you keep just adding on companies after companies after companies after companies, which are already established, already created. And you create wealth from this. Now, all of this wealth is locked in right now. You don't have cash, $45-50 million in cash. The only way you will get the cash is if you sell this portfolio. When you sell it, you'll have a bunch of money coming in, and you pay the debt, pay the taxes, and remaining will be yours. But it's much easier to buy a $25 million company, a $10 million company, a $5 million company, a $1 million company, than to create one from scratch. To create one from scratch, you need sales, marketing, employees, management, testing, market, a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of infrastructure. But to buy a company, you do not need a whole bunch of infrastructure, because the infrastructure already exists. You're just going in and you're buying it. It's the same difference between creating a house from an empty land versus going and buying a house from a motivated seller and then putting it on rent, or buying a house that's already on rent. So, that's essentially two types of strategy. One is cash flow based. It's called a cash flow model, which is based on sales and marketing. And the other one is equity, creating equity value, which is appreciation model. You acquire assets and you let them grow in value. And that's acquisitions, and the growth trajectory is much faster and it's much bigger with acquisitions. If you look at people, if you just look at this trend, how many people have gotten rich through sales and marketing? There are very few. And how many have gotten rich doing acquisitions? There will be people that you have not heard about, that are not famous, and they are rich. Have you met those people wearing a $200,000 watch? You've seen those people driving a car, nobody knows who they are. Most of the time they are either in real estate or in mergers and acquisitions or investments, the hedge fund guys or the venture capitalists or private equity guys or mergers and acquisitions guys. They are non-famous but rich people, because they only deal with a few people, decision makers, top bankers and top companies, and they bring those things together and they make a whole bunch of money. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Two fundamental strategies. You can either grow through sales and marketing, which you can do, but to get super rich from it, it's extremely challenging. And this is what happens even in companies like Facebook, Instagram. They grow through sales, and it's a hyper growth because it's a tech company. It's a hyper growth in sales and people just start pouring in. But then at some point the company crystallizes in value, and the only way they can grow is through acquisitions. So even these big companies, tech companies, have to grow through acquisitions at some point. So if they are using acquisitions at that stage, why wouldn't you from the beginning itself? And rather than acquiring big behemoth companies, you could acquire small family businesses and create wealth from that. People have worked to create businesses. They already exist. All you got to do is go in, make an offer, and raise the capital to buy the business, pay off that debt through cash flow, and you're good to go. Now there are several steps that are needed before you do this, you need to have a team of advisors from finance, legal, and mergers and acquisitions background and operations to look at the business. You need a law firm and accounting firm to represent you so that you can investigate on these businesses before you buy them and make sure everything is legitimate. You need to be positioned in the right market, in the right industry, so that the margins are big. If the margins are small, you cannot get financing. So you want margins to be big and the price that you pay at the beginning very low. And if you do that, the numbers work out and you can buy an asset. Once you buy one asset, it's easier to buy the second, third, fourth, fifth, and you can keep acquiring businesses until you're big enough to exit. Once you exit, you create wealth. So it takes about 5 to 7 to 8 to 9 years. But to create any of these businesses from scratch, it can take decades to create a business that's even worth $5 million, $10 million. It can take a few decades to do that, especially if it's a physical business, and even then it may not happen. Very few people have done that. But to buy, identify, negotiate, and buy the business, that should not be difficult. It's not easy, but it's faster. All right, so that's what I want to leave you with. The two types of growth strategies. One is through sales and marketing, which is based in creating revenue, and the other one is through acquiring businesses where somebody has given their whole life creating this asset, and you go in and you acquire it at a discounted price.